Welcome to the Wednesday night live stream. Glad you've joined us for our little midweek pick me up. Tonight we'll be in the Sermon on the Mount, Matthew chapter 7. I'm going to start reading in verse 21. Let's jump in. It says, "Not everyone who says to me, 'Lord, Lord,' will enter the kingdom of heaven, but only those who do the will of my Father who is in heaven. Many will say to me on that day, 'Lord, Lord, didn't we prophesy in your name, and in your name drive out demons, and in your name perform miracles?' Then I will tell them plainly, 'I never knew you. Away from me, you evildoers.'" So here's the question, and I've got this a lot, whether it's small groups or sermons that I've given. Who are these people? Who are the people that are performing miracles, driving out darkness, teaching other believers, but they themselves are not redeemed, saved, connected to God? Jesus says, "I never knew you. Away." I guess I get that question all the time because that's a little scary. What if we find ourselves in that category, believing that we have some semblance of faith, only to be exposed on a day of judgment that our faith wasn't real? Yeah, yikes. I think the answer comes in Matthew chapter 7 when Jesus ends the Sermon on the Mount with these three separate metaphors of two components. There are two travelers, two trees, and two houses that Jesus talks about. Two travelers on two separate roads going through two separate gates, two. Then there are two trees who look the same on the outside but have different results. One has fruit and one doesn't. One's sick on the inside and one isn't. Then there's two houses. Also look the same exteriorly, but they are created and made on two different foundations, very different foundations that one leads to the destruction. So, two travelers, two trees, two houses. What's Jesus' point? That at first glance, there's a lot of us that look like we're connected to God. The travelers, you would say, hey, they're progressing along, they're traveling, and they're probably going the same way to the same destination, but Jesus says they aren't. Or the two trees, at first glance from a distance, they just look like trees, same trees, but they're not. And the two houses, one's going to last and one isn't. What's Jesus' point? That sometimes people who are doing spiritual things, religious things, in the active progress of spiritual activity, they're doing it for very different reasons. Their motives are completely different. Even those that are investing in good things can be doing it for the wrong reasons. Teaching, helping, in this passage, performing miraculous works, graciousness and kindness and beauty. Two very different motives. That's the point. The wide road is a road of destruction, and it's a road of works, meaning that we're trying to put forth a good record before God to earn God's approval. And it doesn't matter what religion you're a part of, including Christianity. I meet people all the time that are doing that. I don't care if you're Buddhist or Hindu or Christian. If your motive is, let me do enough good to be good before God, that's the wide road. That's the default settings for all of humanity. That's what everybody's trying to do. Then along comes the gospel. And the gospel is, our record will never be good enough. But we, who have cast ourselves by grace on the record of Christ, perfect record, we accept that mercy, that grace given to us, his record on our behalf of perfection, and we begin to walk that road. It's a different road. It's a different motive. Think about it real quick. There are people who call themselves Christians who are doing good works that are trying to get God's approval. And then there are people who are followers of Christ doing good things out of gratitude for the grace God has given us. At first glance, they're going to look really similar. Only deeper, only in places that God sees. Motives will, the truth, get uncovered. And I think that's Jesus' point in Matthew chapter 7 as he closes out this sermon. He's saying, your motives will be exposed. The truth will come to light. And so ask yourself that question, not out of fear, but out of faith. Have you put your hope and trust in Christ as your Redeemer, as your forgiver, as your justifier, as the one that makes you righteous? Because that's the only thing that's really going to matter. And are you living out of gratitude for that righteousness and that gift of grace? Ask yourself that question. That's the only road that matters. All right, as far as we can go this week. Love you. Mean it. See you Sunday.